What is up, everybody? It's Crux here with Crux of Crypto, and we're having a fairly neutral day today. I'm here to break down the markets every Tuesday, Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. I bring the alpha. So if this is your first time checking me out, make sure you subscribe, set on your alerts, because I have a ton of content that's going to be coming out tomorrow and also on Monday of next week, which I'll talk about here a little bit later. But the big story of the day is the institutions. So Michael Saylor and Larry Fink have been very vocal. We also have Peter Schiff and CZ from Binance who have been going back and forth. So I have a good amount of people that I'm going to break down today in terms of who has a pretty big voice in the space, because we always want to surround ourselves with what they're saying, but also remember what they're doing is more important than that. So I'm here to teach you a lot of lessons in crypto, but anything I say within this live stream is not financial advice. So don't look to me if your bags are down from a play that I talked about, because always do your due diligence, and that's what I teach here at the Crux of Crypto. So I specialize in altcoins. Here in a second, we'll go over the trending cryptos of the day. We'll break down a couple different news segments, and then I'll get into the Q&A. So if you have some questions, go ahead and start throwing those in chat. Additionally, I got a poll over there going that says, what are you buying today? It's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP. I went with the large caps. Don't be full degen today, please. I have a lot of people in Discord saying, Crux, should I be buying, I don't know, Aster or maybe even Hyperliquid or Aerodrome or these types of plays? It's always good to buy the dip, but remember, in times of uncertainty, you want to be accumulating the large caps. Not financial advice again, but it's okay to accumulate some altcoins. Just don't go crazy with it. More experience you have in crypto, the more you can, jump into those lower caps. So something to consider. I see Solana's currently in second place behind Bitcoin. So you guys have been taking notes. I'm rocking Satoshi today, and so are you guys. So Team Bitcoin, let's go ahead and jump into the current state of the markets. So this is me. I haven't even, okay, getting my buttons down. There we go. This is me looking at the markets for the first time today. I haven't even really prepped anything. So $3.25 trillion in market cap. We're only down about 0.6% from yesterday, or about 24 hours ago. So the overall market has not been bad, hence a neutral white room. You guys know I like to keep the room depending on my mood, right? So if it's green, if Crux is feeling bullish, I'll have some green lights, whether back there, the computer, or up here on the trim. But it is a very neutral day. And I think within the past 48 hours, we had a lot of bullish price action. And I think this is just a little bit of a consolidation period. So we will see. But the most important thing you can do in any of these situations is always stay up to date on what are we going to accumulate next time, so we can beat that bullish period. So all right, looking at the Bitcoin dominance, we're actually moving up a little bit in the past week or so. I think we got as low as 56% last week, and now we're back up to 57%. So that's something to consider. I'm going to talk about why Bitcoin dominance has been going up here shortly. And two of the biggest players, like I said earlier, Larry Fink and Michael Saylor, have been talking very bullishly about it. And the Ethereum dominance is also going up as well. So 11.8% on Ethereum. The Fusaka upgrade, which I've talked about in my last live stream on Tuesday, I'll talk about it just a little bit on this live stream. And then I got a video dropping tomorrow that's a top 5 December picks, which will go even more into what the Fusaka upgrade is. And that's why that dominance is going up. So let's go ahead and jump into the trending cryptos. Again, altcoin specialist here. I tried to knock out all of these fairly quickly. So Monad, this is a project I've been telling everyone stay away from for a while now. 50% of the team, insiders and investors, there we go, those three own 50% of the actual supply of it. So I always stay away from stuff like that, especially in 2025. We understand tokenomics need to be more or less team driven or community driven, as opposed to all these wealthy individuals that get early access to the tokens and they dump on you as it drops. So I know Arthur Hayes has been very vocal. I've been on team Arthur Hayes on this. He's been calling out Monad's team and their horrible tokenomics, and so has Crux. So Pudgy Penguins, I've been streaming for over 3 months now, and Pudgy Penguins has been trending every single live stream, so I'm going to skip this one. I think it's a buy. Fartcoin, I told you guys, if Fartcoin was trending today, I would go ahead and look into it for you, and I'm going to figure out why, because last Tuesday, Fartcoin was trending. And today, it is up 20%. And I honestly have no idea why. So I went into Twitter, I went into a couple different servers looking on to see if I could figure out why this thing is pumping. And of course, you can do your due diligence, or you could do your research on meme coins, but it's a lot more difficult to do your research on these things, because most of it is just social sentiment. That's really all it is who are the whales, and you got to swim with the right people. So not all meme coins are created equal. Most of them are going to go to zero. And fart coin, I don't know, it might be one of the select few that have a future. So Bitcoin, that one's trending because it's the overall king of crypto. Everyone wants to know where we're headed. Are we going to get to 100K by the end of this year is the big question. So what do you guys think? Do you think Bitcoin is going to get to $100,000 by January 1st of this year? So that is just what, $7.5 thousand away. And we know we were just at about 80K on our Bitcoin price. So we're already up about 12.5 thousand within like 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So very volatile asset, and we're headed in the right direction. So I'm still about 60-40. I think we're in a bear market, but I haven't budged past 60-40. Let's continue moving on. We got Zcash. This one's trending. This one's mainly trending because the privacy narrative has been just really hot, honestly. Really as the past like 2 months or so. I think a lot of people that were early investors, and I talk about in my other deep dive, have manipulated this project, and they've been trying to get out in profit. So we see this thing about down 50% in the past week or two, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's about 2 weeks. It's been down about 50%. It got as high as 700. It's at 360 now. So I don't think, I'm not fully sold out on the ZK proofs narrative currently. I do believe in the technology though. I just don't invest in cryptos that use their identification within one piece of a technology, which is called ZK proofs. Moving on, we got Aerodrome. This one's trending because of an exchange listing, or a brokerage rather. And I'll be talking about that here in a little bit. Solana. Why is Solana trending? I'm going to go back to Solana. I know why it's trending, but I completely forgot. Biro. This one is another privacy crypto. This one's a little different than Zcash. It uses ZK proofs, but it uses its ZK proofs through a protocol as opposed to being embedded within its framework per se. So another privacy blockchain out there that's also trending. This one was called like, not Zcash, but Z something, if I'm not mistaken. Two different projects. I wouldn't own either. Moving on, we got XRP. This is a project I love. I think XRP is a phenomenal product. Ripple Labs, I appreciate what you're doing for the space. You went against the SEC last bull market, and now this cycle we've had a lot of regulatory clarity because of what Ripple Labs has went through. So if you have some XRP, throw X's in chat. XRP Army, stand up. Let's get it. We are trending today. I own a good amount of XRP, and I'm not thinking about selling. Also, Vanguard, I talked about it on Tuesday. They recently went live with their ETFs, and now tons of clients have access to different ETFs. So I expect a lot of the large caps like an XRP, Ethereum, Bitcoin are all going to be trending for a while based off of this Vanguard news. And then moving on, we got Ethereum. I talked a little bit about the Fusaka upgrade. I'll just go ahead and, all right. Let me just try to explain Fusaka in a minute. I'm not going to take too much of your time. So Fusaka, well, Ethereum, first of all, uses blobs. Blobs is essentially how data is pushed through the blocks, and you have X amount of blobs that are being used. I think it's going from, like, if I'm not mistaken, 12 to 16 or something like that. Anyways, this will increase the throughput. Also, there's a couple other things that Fusaka is supposed to do in terms of its interoperability within its layer 2s, making the fees go down for the scaling solutions, and then also boosting, I believe, the speed of the L2s and something else. So think of this mainly as a L2 upgrade, but it does have some sort of impact on the blobs on the layer 1. So if you own some Ethereum, you're doing well. It is trending. And hopefully we break past that $5,000, psychological, peak that we've gotten close to, not once, but twice. So in 2021, we got very close to like 4,800 in November 2021. This cycle, we actually got very close to that 5,000 again. So Cal, Tau is trending because it is having a halving event in about 2 weeks. Tau follows the same emissions as Bitcoin. And honestly, they're doing very well as an ecosystem. I've told you many, many times, it's my favorite AI project, and I love what the subnets are doing. So if you don't own any Tau, what are you doing? Start listening to my stream because I'll break it all down for you. It's very important. Moving on, we got some Hyperliquid. I think in terms of volatility, whenever we have volatile price action, especially when Bitcoin goes up $10,000 in 2 weeks, you're going to get a lot of volume going on these perp dexes. So Hyperliquid, that one's going to be trending. And usually if I scroll back up, you'll see Aster, if I'm not mistaken. So Aster was trending a little bit earlier. It's not, oh, no, there it is. So Aster's right here. This one's trending, which I'll talk about here shortly due to a roadmap. But usually whenever Hyperliquid or Aster's trending, the other one is as well. So next up, we got Avicii. AVICI is a ticker. How many different crypto projects are out there trying to recreate the wheel? So this one's kind of like a traditional banking platform. You could use your little, prepaid cards or your visas and stuff. I'm not completely sold on most of these, and I would stay away from that one. ICP, I think ICP as of late has gone pretty, I've been pretty bearish on it because I see a lot of people that are in the Kaspa community that are ex-ICP holders. So a lot of people who once believed in the way canisters work on ICP have been footed out and are moving towards Kaspa. And a lot of the ICP developers are leaving. So, and it's very interesting how they're going from ICP directly to Kaspa. It's not many other blockchains. It's not like Avalanche or something like that. A lot of times you'll get these cult-like followings. Kaspa, we are a cult-like following, but ICP is very similar. And I'm still not sold completely on this project. I don't think Caffeine has done very well towards adoption of the network, which is their really own known app. And I don't hold any ICP because of this. So, okay, let's go ahead and jump into, well, let's go ahead and read a couple questions first. I saw a couple OGs in chat, which I usually read their stuff before I go into the trending cryptos, but I'm gonna give you guys your shout outs because you were here first. And I can't really see the first name. I think it's Brandon. Brandon, you usually here first, and he's saying use a stop loss. Daniel's usually one of the top ones as well. So shout out to Gem Hunters. Let's get it. All right. I'm buying nothing. I'm selling whatever breaks, even for that 40K Bitcoin. Look, Daniel, you've been taking notes. Crux, in mid-October, I talked about 60-40. I'm 60% probable that we are headed into a bear market, and we're probably going to go to 40K. And I had about 60% certainty. So that's whenever Bitcoin was about 115K. So a lot of these rallies, I still think are relief rallies. I think that we're going up a little bit, but I think we're about to go right back down. And what I like about this overall is I'm more of a time-based person. So I don't care what the price of Bitcoin is in Q4 of next year, whether it's 70K, 60K, 50K, 40K, that's when I'm buying. Crypto runs on a 4-year cycle, and this is based off of Bitcoin's halving event, which is actually about 3 years, 10 months, or maybe 11 months, somewhere in there. But it's 210,000 blocks that's mined through Bitcoin, and everything follows this cycle. So, including price. So that's why I think it's a time-based and not a price-based. So if Bitcoin is 40K and we're going into, like, let's say Q2 of next year, and then it goes down to 30K in Q4 of next year, I'd probably buy it at 30K because that's the more important piece of the puzzle. So some people look at price, Crux, I look at time. All right, what does that mean? You changed your mind about the slaughter on the way? Okay, so Morris, I hope that answered your question. I still think that we're going down and right, but the more bullish price action we have up until October of next year is very good because we don't want to just keep going down, down, down. And here's why. So we have something called diminishing returns. Each cycle, you make less multiples depending on how many cycles because the market cap's higher, right? So first era, let's just say 122x. The second era, maybe 100, not even, let's just say 98x. Third era, let's just say 22x. From 3,500 in 2018 bear market, all the way up until 21K in November of 2021. So that was a 22X. This cycle so far has been an 8X. So if we use diminishing returns and we say that, let's just say 5X, just be hypothetical on this, 5X. Whatever we go down to in October of next year is only going to be that 5X if the 4-year cycle was to stay on par. And if it continues to go down, 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 let's just say it goes down to 30K. So that 5X times the 30K, that'd be $150,000. Very bearish overall. And that would be in 2029. So we don't want that to happen. Why? Because Bitcoin will cost $120,000 per coin to mine if the price of electricity stays the same between now and 2029. So this is something I always keep my eye on and my ear to as a fundamental analyst, is the 4-year cycles, and very important. But overall, if it's not broke, don't fight the trend. I do plan on buying some Ondo and Link on the next drop. I think those are two very solid projects, Daniel. I know Tim earlier talked about both of them. Ondo had a pretty big acquisition, maybe $300 million, if I'm not mistaken. That happened today. So Chainlink, I'm also very bullish on. Moving on, Brandon, you got big Christmas plans out here in Texas. So I will be out in Dallas mid-December, so in like a week and a half, and I'll be linking up with T-Shroom, Tim, and somebody else. I'm not going to name drop them, but I can guarantee you know this person, and they are much bigger than we are. So I'm in there like swimwear. I'm just fake it till you make it. Idols become your rivals type stuff. Channel's blowing up, and you got to surround yourself with bigger people than you. So anyways, mid-December, I'll be over in Dallas, but I won't be there for the Christmas season this year, which is like the first time in like 5 years. So, all right. Morris says, I hope Ondo and Link make it good. Biggest holding. Interesting. Those are two pretty speculative plays to be your biggest holdings, Morris. You mind, why not Solana? Why not maybe even Ethereum? There's some good projects out there. I don't think Link and Ondo should be your biggest holdings personally. I threw some money in it all. Okay. You're not the only one buying the dip, by the way. What up, Cruxonians? Tony Rojas. That's the first time I heard that one. Cruxonians. I feel like old, like a museum. The Cruxonian Museum. All right. Let's see. What else we got? Let's read a couple more, and then we'll roll on to the news. I'm sure a lot of you guys are waiting for that. Yo, what up, Cruxes, Tony? Don't count on that 40K Bitcoin. It won't happen. Ooh. All right, Mark. Or Mike. This is Mike saying this, by the way. Don't count on that 40K Bitcoin. It will never happen. The alt train will leave without you. So, first of all, I have not sold any of my alts. I've been very transparent with you guys. I've sold 0 crypto. 0. And 90% of my holdings were bought sub 25K Bitcoin. So I'm still holding. I haven't sold. I haven't taken profits. Some of I'll be honest, some of my bags are definitely down. I've owned some Popcat. I've owned, my Plume bags are down. There's some good solid projects that are out there that I'm down on. And that's just part about being in crypto, especially if you're in altcoins. So that's one thing I will not do. If it's a solid project, I am not selling you at a loss. And that's on game. All right, let's go on to Bipto. Freddy, do you think Plume is a good buy here? Thank you, sir. So last Tuesday, I went through Plume on the live stream. I looked at the TVL, and it actually went down, which is the first time I've seen Plume go down. It used to be 500 mil TVL. Let's quickly check it. So Plume. And then on Tuesday, it said about 300 million, which is still very solid for a 67 mil project, but that's a little bit worrying. I'm not going to lie. Going down, losing 200 million in TVL. You have to ask where that money went. So it's about 323 mil TVL. So, I mean, that's something to consider. If your real world asset is a speculative play, then of course the value is going to go down. But in terms of TVL of a RWA play, there's some stuff that's not going to go down a lot. Let's consider real estate. Real estate's not going to drop 30% in a year or whatever. But there are things that are backed that are real world assets, like a gold or something like that. So If your real world assets are backed by something speculative, which I can probably guarantee you this one is, and that's why the TVL dropped. At one point I covered it maybe a month ago and it's sitting closer to about 500 million in the TVL. So something to consider. The TVL has taken a hit over there on Plume Network, and I am not done holding my Plume. So I still hold all of my Plume and I'm not letting it go. All right, let's read one more question and then we'll move on to the news. The Tao documentary is good. Hola, Crux is French. Hey, what up, French toaster? I've been stealing a lot of Billy's sayings. So Billy, Crypto Billy, if y'all don't know, he has a community called Billy Goattails Givers Gain. And every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go live on X and we talk about stuff way bigger than crypto. So we are a crypto community, but we talk about family, faith, and everything else. So it's awesome. Check it out on X. That is Billy Goattails. So French Toaster, he's one of the Givers Gain community members. And Billy, the owner of the community, the head of the community, always says, the best toaster is a French toaster. So I appreciate you being here. Carl X. All right. We're all George, says Tony. I like George. You know, there's a lot of content creators, and I'll be honest. There's a lot that I like, and there's a lot that I don't like. So in terms of George, we're all George. I like George a lot. He's been here for a very long time. In the bear market, he's been every single day just giving us news. So I appreciate what he's done. I used to be an avid crypto watcher way before I started creating content, and he was one of the voices that I wanted to emulate. So I would say of all the channels right now, the one I want to be most like would be Coin Bureau. So if you know Guy, if you know basically the whole team over there at Coin Bureau, that's kind of what I've tried to emulate within my static content. So I think eventually I'll get there. I don't have like I don't know how many analysts and writers they have over there, but I am alone in terms of this content that's being produced. I'm doing all the research, all the scripts, all the recording, all the clips. The only thing I don't do is the editing. So shout out Leandro, you are a boss. So appreciate everything you do. All right, one last one. What do you think of the 4-year cycle is broken, and do you think we have a 2026 bull market? Says Duck. No, I don't think that we're going to have a bull run in 2026 with about 60% probability. So I'm not overly confident on that, on that no. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if we go into 2026 very bullish. Like I'm about to present some news that's about to knock your socks off. So, and here's something very important in crypto. I could tell you 100 bullish things. I could tell you 100 bearish things. Sometimes the black swans will wreck your day and you had everything prepared. You had your long in, and then Japan carry trade 2.0 comes in. You had your long in, and then Israel attacks Iran. I don't know. There's so much that you can't see. And we call these things black swan events. Every year, we get a black swan event. This is supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime event. Maybe, I don't know, a Great Depression type event, or 2008. Even 2008 wasn't even at the magnitude, but black swans seem to happen all the time. So no matter what your analysis, you could be this team over here with 100 bullish things, this team over here with 100 bearish things, but you have to choose a side, to be primarily on, but also be ready for whichever situation. So I have my portfolio packed and I have my dry powder, and that, no matter what happens, Crux is going to be good. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. I see a lot more comments coming in. Let those accumulate while I go through the news. All right. So the CFTC now permits spot trading on its registered exchanges, marking a major regulatory shift. So this is the first thing I asked about this, right? So the CFTC, it's real big. For a while, the SEC was regulating crypto. Eventually, the CFTC, they come in, they say, no, let us do it. It's much more as a commodity similar to gold. So now we have the players that actually like crypto on our side, which is a blessing. Now, I first asked, why is this super important in terms of like crypto, right? So my question is, how much of the gold out there is traded on futures? So I think, Bitcoin's pretty similar to gold, right? So CFTC regulated gold trading is about 30% of the total gold market volume. So this is a very big deal. This is 1/3 of all the crypto, just under, is gone through a future spot trading, or futures trading, sorry. And then the unregulated or the over-the-counter markets is about, the other 70%. So, this is saying 1/3 of it. If 1/3 of the Bitcoin is now going to be traded through these markets, that's a huge shift in trading activity, trading volume, and it's a good amount of liquidity that's going to be pushed. So this is a very big deal. Don't write this type of stuff off. Always look at what's happening on the regulated side. The regulation is what allows crypto to freely, or money to freely enter the crypto markets and then be spent on assets, whether it's trading, like spot trading, or maybe even futures trading. So I like what I see in that one. Here's the second biggest story of the day.
In the world to embrace crypto, to embrace Bitcoin in 4 to 8 years would be fast. What you see here is it's happening much faster. What we've seen is BNY Mellon, PNC Bank, Citibank, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Vanguard, all of these have flipped from a hostile, negative, or skeptical view to a positive view in the last 12 months, right? We have announcements. Schwab is going to custody Bitcoin and extend credit against crypto assets early next year. Citi is doing the same thing. It used to be, I couldn't get a loan against Bitcoin from any major bank, and now if I counted the top 10 banks in the United States, 8 of them are actually engaged in crypto lending, and they've all flipped their stance in the last 6 months.
So this is a really big story. Sorry, I couldn't pause it as I try to transition into it, but that's Michael Saylor, the second biggest company that's publicly traded that holds Bitcoin other than Tesla. And I think they own like 650K Bitcoin, if I'm not mistaken. So they're the biggest public institution with Bitcoin holdings. Anyways, so him saying that 8 of the top 10 banks is huge. On Tuesday, I talked about Vanguard. I always had to leave Vanguard out. I'd talk about State Street, talked about Fidelity, talked about BlackRock, talked about, Franklin Templeton, Deutsche Bank. I've talked about so much. And finally, we got Vanguard on our team. And we're getting close to 10 of the 10 top banks, not just institutions, but banks as well, that are entering these markets. And really, it's big because it just allows their clients to get access very easily. So in a regulated way. So I talked about this on Tuesday as well, is there are bonuses to allowing people to get access to IBIT as opposed to just holding your spot Bitcoin. And I would say the biggest use case or the biggest requirement or reason people buy an IBIT or an ETF is because of the security behind it, as it's regulated, as opposed to crypto, which isn't regulated. All right, so let's continue moving on. Bitcoin, and as I just talked about all the banks coming in, I just talked about the CFTC, possibly adding another 30% of trading volume to Bitcoin. We're starting to see price targets of these big banks talk about $170,000 Bitcoin. So this is, these are big analysts, much bigger than me. I mean, we all know Crux is the best analyst out there, but we got some analysts out there bigger than me, and they're talking about $170,000 Bitcoin from JP Morgan, and I would not disregard what they're saying. So always swim with the whales. I don't know why this keeps getting in the way. Move. All right. According to Forbes. All right. So BlackRock. So basically what I'm going to do on this, I'm going to quickly lay out this. I'm going to give my thoughts, and then I'm going to allow Larry Fink to have the next segment. So according to Forbes, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink revealed that some unnamed sovereign banks are buying Bitcoin, and they bought more as the price dropped from its peak of 126K back in October. Fink stated that these funds are buying incrementally. Very important word, incrementally. So it's not just a one-time buy. They're going to continue to DCA, which is a very smart way to gain crypto exposure, and increase their positions when the price fell into the 80K range. I like this because he specifically stated a number, $80,000. And why are the biggest institutions buying? And who are these people? I mean, Larry Fink, he's a trusted source at this point. I mean, at one point he said he hated Bitcoin and he flipped. So now I actually really trust what he says. And let's check it out.
We're seeing more and more legitimate long-only investors investing in it. There was an article about a foundation, endowment just bought a lot of IBIT. But I can tell you there are a number of sovereign funds that are standing by. They're adding incrementally at 120, at 100. I know they bought more in the 80s. Right. That's fine. And they're establishing a longer position. And you own it over years. This is not a trade. You own it for a purpose. We're seeing more and more legitimate.
All right, there we go. Go ahead and minimize that. So he's saying long only. If you're in shorts, you're wrong. And again, this is the owner of, I think, a $13 trillion asset class, BlackRock, that is telling you this. So me, Crux, I am not shorting anything. First of all, I don't really leverage trade. But if I did, I would not be shorting. And that would be why. I think it's very important to understand who the whales are and what they're saying. So 80K seems to be a possible bottom. And I think probably half of you in here agree that it's going to be a bottom. I don't agree with them, but that's neither here nor there. All right. And then here's another two going at it. So this is kind of funny. So
up the stage, yeah, Ting Ting, come over. Today is actually the first time meeting Ting Ting. Ting Ting is actually a KOL for Aster. Yeah, please. Yeah, thank you for Ting. It's pretty heavy. So I have a nice box here.
What is that?
It has some, I think it's Kyrgyz language. I took it back from Kyrgyzstan. He has a certificate. I got this from a very important person from Kyrgyzstan. Very recently, just completely by luck. So we take it out. It's pretty heavy. I'll put this down. You see, it says Kyrgyzstan, 1,000 grams, fine gold, 99.9.9, and a serial number. Try it.
Yes, heavy.
Is it real gold or no?
Well, I don't know. I mean, is this what you're trying to?
All right. So CZ, he trolled Peter Schiff. Everybody knows Peter Schiff. He is the gold bug. He is the guy that likes to push gold on us. I personally like gold, but I found a little humor in this. I thought you guys would as well. Let me tell you why I think. Let's reverse the roles. What if Peter Schiff asked CZ to prove that Bitcoin exists, right? He's right there. He's in a seat. He doesn't have the tools like Peter does. I mean, there's ways to check to see if gold is real, right? CZ would need a computer to check to see if Bitcoin's real. So I think it's just kind of a funny way. I don't think it's going to prove anything to either stance, but it's cool to see that big names in the space, whether you're crypto or you're gold, you're given your stances, you're able to learn which one. I don't think anyone's one better than the other. I think they're both really good for different use cases. One's a store of value, and one's currently in a very speculative state. So until Bitcoin's able to get to its pure or its risk off stage, which currently it's in its risk on stage only, then I think there's going to have those differences there. So it's very much seen as a speculative asset, Bitcoin is. And I think within the next decade or so, we should go up and right as we break these 4-year cycles. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go through a sale that we're running, and then I'm going to go into another session of Q&A. So in our comments below, or in the description below, we have our Black Friday sale. It's actually going into the Cyber Monday, and it's within the last couple days. You can get 50% off any of our annual plans in Whop, or 33% off the first 3 months of the Essentials package. Or actually, no, 33% off any of the first 3 months of a monthly membership. Sorry about that. So within our memberships, we have 3 different tiers. We have the Essentials, which teaches you more or less how to trade. It invites you into our trading community. You get trade alerts, trade signals, trade setups, and those types of things. The Academy is a video series. It has about, I want to say it's going to be about 35 or so videos of technical analysis taught specifically by Tim, who's a pro trader. We have 13 video series about how to build the perfect portfolio, teaching about white papers, how to research tokenomics, teams, that type of stuff, taught by myself. And then T-Shrimp teaches the macroeconomics. So you'll know how to research where, what to grab, and those types of things. So that's the Academy. And the third tier membership would be the Gem Hunters. That's another section that I run. And we're on the hunt for those low cap gems out there. And we've done fairly well during bullish periods. So during bearish periods, you don't want to be in these low cap altcoins. So always remember that. That's something that I'm always be honest with people, because as of now, I haven't been throwing a lot of gems in there. But very important to note is if you're in a bullish period, those things are gonna fly. So we have a good amount of those in there, and you know, the community's crushing it. So appreciate everybody being here. All right, let's go ahead and jump into some Q&A. And then we'll jump into the last segment of news, and then we will wrap it up. So, Wrong Again. Yo, what up, Wrong Again? What up, y'all? Alt season's still coming, but Bitcoin is still going below 40K. Going to 40K, says Daniel. I don't think alt season is going to happen in a bear market. So that's something that we don't really talk about much. Now, remember, Bitcoin dominance from a peak typically stays fairly neutral all the way to a bear market low. So what happens, at least in previous cycles, is alts get wrecked very quickly. So what happens is people think that they're just going to sell their altcoin and just ride it out through Bitcoin. But if you look at the Bitcoin dominance through a bear market, it stays very similar. It's not like Bitcoin dominance keeps going up and up and up and up and up all the way to the bear market bottom. Check it out. You know, don't take my word for it. Open a chart and start researching Bitcoin dominance. That's a fair misconception a lot of people get, is they think if you just sell your altcoin after it's already down 60% and Bitcoin's only down 20%, that you're going to be able to save yourself from the other like 30% drop just by holding the safer asset. But what happens is the altcoin already got milked first, you sold at a loss, and then you bought the asset that hasn't gotten milked yet, and then you're going to ride that one down at the same percentage from that point. So if you're already holding your alt at a loss, you might as well just, you know, keep holding it if you feel like it has good fundamentals to recover. So we should go on a decent relief rally very soon, says Wrong Again. I feel like this has been a very successful relief rally. I mean, I think we went down to 80K or something like that fairly recently. And we got up to like 93K. So I think a 13K jump in Bitcoin's been a pretty good relief rally. Maybe the market's not done pumping though. So Mike says, I didn't say it won't happen. I said, if it don't happen and the alts pop off, the train will leave without you if you sell your alts. I agree, Mike. You're 100% correct. If you sell those altcoins at, let's just say 60, 70% loss right now, those things can send. We just saw some Fartcoin. It's up 20% today. A lot of these random altcoins have been pumping as of the past week or so. And he is absolutely right, whether it's Chainlink or Ondo or Fartcoin or this coin or that coin. If we go into a bullish period, they're all going to pump. So, and the ones that took the biggest hit are going to pump the hardest, as long as they have good fundamentals. So, something to consider. Why would you buy, let's just say $1. You bought a coin at $1. You rode it all the way down to 20 cents. You're down 80% on your bags. You bought the top. Why would you've already went through 4/5 of the max pain you can go through. That last piece, you're freaking out. You're like, oh, if I just sell now, maybe I could buy back even lower. You already went through 4/5 of the max pain. So at that point, you might as well just risk it. Just continue holding the last fifth that you have in hopes that it goes back up. So that's the way I look at it. What is the max risk or the max pain whenever you're holding these cryptos? What is your opinion on trust? All right, so let's go ahead and check this one out. Wrong Again. Boom. So honestly, I haven't looked at it, but let's go ahead and check it out. Up here, maybe it's a Trust Wallet token. If it is, yeah, it is. No, it's not. Trust. So is this the play here? It's called Intuition. 27 mil market cap, so very low. It's been out it's November 5th. So it's about 1 month it's been out. It's up 50% in the last 2 weeks. What blockchain? It's in the base network. Okay. So a lot of sideways price action. All right, let's quickly check the abstract of the white paper if I can. All right. In your migration to increasingly object trust systems, the Intuition protocol emerges a response to a critical challenge. Yeah, okay, so there's like a lot of buzzwords in here. Let's check the website real quick. If I can't easily figure out what this is within like the first couple sentences you are running. Okay. Access your intuition. Blockchains have historically decentralized money, intuition, decentralized information. It's trust, ownership, discoverability, and monetization. The humanity's intuition. So it looks like maybe decentralized, knowledge platform, possibly. I would think most likely large language models would make this like worthless. All right, so together we could build the world's first open and semantic knowledge graph, unlocking the true value of the world's aggregate data. So I think this is already happening through LLMs. I think this is just a fancy way to rebrand that. I mean, that's all large language models are, is just human knowledge going on the blockchain and being aggregated. So knowledge as an asset class. Yeah. Okay, so this isn't something that I'm seeing for the first time. Unlock human intuition for artificial intelligence, right? So just LLM, 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 LLM. I think it's a cool narrative. A base network play that's sitting at 25 mil, I don't think is bad. I mean, I probably wouldn't put over like 0.5% of my portfolio into something that's speculative, but I think it has potential. You know, fair enough. I'm not going to go buy any. I think the subnets on Tau are clearly the best AI neural networks out there. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump into a couple more questions and then a last segment of Q&A. CZ schooled him, says Carl. So I didn't watch the whole thing, but we're going to be biased. I think Peter Schiff's going to have some pretty good arguments, and I think CZ is going to have some good arguments. So I'm not going to sit here and debate people over what's better, Bitcoin or gold. And I think they're both good. Why not have both? I'm all about diversification. All right. Blazin says, what up, Crux? Appreciate you, my dude. Hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. Time to pump now. Right. Time to pump. Let's get it, Crypto Nation. Bedridden. I'm shorting. Do not pump. Bedridden, you might be making some money. I mean, Bitcoin or crypto in general is down almost 1% today as a market class, so as an asset class. I love that clip. Yeah, that clip was pretty funny. All three of those clips I played. I usually don't play clips on here, but these are very important for you guys. We need to know what Larry Fink is thinking. We need to know what Michael Saylor's thinking. We also need to know what CZ is thinking. CZ holds more crypto than probably anybody on the planet, other than maybe Satoshi. So, which, you know, I don't even think Satoshi's one person, by the way, but I don't know. Maybe I'll get banned for saying that. We'll see. A lot of people hate whenever I say stuff like that. Blazin Bandit says 754,000 total coins is a game changer for ETH-B. It is. It very much is. Juby just joined. Did we talk about Tau yet? Juby, I talked a little bit about Tau. I have a video tomorrow that goes out top 5 December picks, and I talk about the halving event that's happening. Talk a little bit about the subnets and why it was trending earlier today. So, yeah. So halving event happens in like 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's why it's trending. So, when did the bear market start? Says RN. I think 126K was the peak. So maybe we are in the bear market. I say maybe. With capital MAYBE. Bedridden, when you buy a coin at $1 and it pumps to $1.50, if it comes down again to $1, that is your chance to sell if you haven't. That is how you do it, not financial advice. That's that's what I did with my loan. I'll be honest. I had a loan last cycle. I probably made 150K in unrealized profits on ADA from okay, so I put in like $100,000 loan. I got 50K in DAI, 55,000, put that 55K in DAI, went down like 20% on my ADA. I YOLO'd all of it into ADA. And then I was sweating bullets. I'm not going to lie. And I don't encourage anybody else to do this. I watched my ADA go down, and then it sent for like a 4x in the next like month, maybe even a 5x. And then it went right back down to my break even, and I got up out of there. So, you know, there's ways that you could have stop losses per se on spot trading like that. I just don't advise anybody I mean, I'm not a financial advisor anyways, but don't be aping into these risky moves if you're not ready to pay the price. Oh, I thought the halving was today, says Juby. I don't think it is today. I mean, there's a countdown. It's kind of similar to the Bitcoin countdown, but it's in Spanish, which is super interesting. You'll see it on my video tomorrow. But yeah, I covered it in the video, so whatever it says there. Mike says, what do you think about the correlation with Epstein and Bitcoin? Will that send it to the bear market prices? I have not heard anything about Epstein or Bitcoin. This sounds like FUD. But remember, these news networks are designed to FUD you. They want you to sell. CoinDesk, owned by Digital Currency Group, who has trust that acquire crypto. So why would you control the people that are buying the crypto on behalf of clients and also controlling the news? So he who controls the news controls the world. So, and if you think about it, the top 5 richest people in the world, like a Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos or a Elon Musk, all these people, they own social media platforms. It's no surprise. That's how you get your power. That's how you get your wealth. All right. The last question, and we'll go on to the last segment of news. The last segment of news I always save for like some, what are pretty good projects to be picking up, because there's some altcoins out there on sale right now. All right. So RN Capital says, with you being a trader, if you were starting now, how would you start? Beginners here. All right, RN, I don't trade at all. I spot trade, which means I buy bear market lows and I typically sell bull market tops. I have not sold any this cycle, but what I've done is I stopped buying like a while back. I've been accumulating dry powder, and I have a plan to acquire 1 full Bitcoin for $40,000 in October of 2026. And I've stated it in a video, and it's a very bold claim. And people always call me crazy, like, Crux, how do you know? It's because I bought 90% of my portfolio this cycle, sub 25K Bitcoin, because I had the same mentality. And the further out in crypto you plan, the better you do, because you don't talk about the Japan carry trade, or I don't know, tariff, stimulus checks, and all these little things that get in your head, and you're like, oh, this time is different. Is it? Is it? So 2 cycles ago, institutions had basically 0 Bitcoin. 2021, institutions had 8% of Bitcoin. Currently, Bitcoins have 18% of Bitcoin. So if you have 18% of Bitcoin, you don't own the price. You can't control the price with 18%. Satoshi can. Retail can. We own 65% of the Bitcoin. So this is basic math. This is how markets work. Whoever owns the supply owns the price. And that's super important. This is all on-chain. For the first time ever, we have access to on-chain data. And that's why I've been very, whatever the retail wants, that's where Bitcoin's going from here. But as I just said, 0% to 8% to 18%, guess what? 2029 is going to be about 36%. And then 2033 is going to be closer to about 70%. At that point, it has, institutions have full control. I would say institutions will have full control at closer to 30%. So by next bull market, I think will be the institutional market. And that's whenever the bigger names will be here, such as maybe, I don't know, somebody else in the top 250 other than Tesla. Tesla, MicroStrategies, that's it in the top 250 companies in the world. We need an Amazon. We need a Google, a Facebook, or all these other companies. So that's the institutional cycle, next cycle. This is the regulatory cycle. Bit21, Clarity, Genius, Crypto Task Force, we are crushing it on the regulatory front. Acquire Bitcoin, United States. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the last segment. All right, so Aster, I think this is a top asymmetric risk bet in all of crypto right now. It's a new project, came out in October of this year. They just released their 2026 roadmap, which is very important because we need to know what they're dropping to stay ahead of it. So spoiler, I talk about this in my top 5 December picks video tomorrow, but bottom line up front, and this is the newest part of today's information, which won't be in the video, is Aster Chain L1 launch. Aster is absolutely crushing it. So Aster, If you don't know, they're perp decks. They're up there putting about $10 million a day in trading fees. Actually, yeah, 10. So they're up there with Hyperliquid and Lighter in terms of like a three-way split on who's controlling the fees. But you're sitting at a very low market cap for how much volume you're printing. And what I like about them is the community. It has access to a ton of the tokens through airdrops, and their burns are insane. So next season, which is season 4, going into that Q1 period of next year, they're going to be burning 90% of all the fees generated from trading activity. So this is what I love to see in an ecosystem, but transparency is also another thing. And the most important thing is the tech. So it's cool to see a layer 1's going to be dropping for Aster. Do they need one? No, they don't really. Interoperability is going to be by far the best thing within these things, but so be it. We'll see what they do with it. I'm very bullish on Aster. Another project I'm bullish on is Aerodrome. So they just got their live Robinhood listing today. So a lot of us hold Aerodrome. I'm still pretty bullish on it. I've gone back and forth with this many times. I believe in Coinbase. I don't know what's going to happen with the base token. So I don't know how it's going to influence the network. We know the base network is the 6th biggest ecosystem in all of crypto, up there behind like a Bitcoin, Tron, BNB. Actually, I think they're above Tron. So Bitcoin, BNB, Solana, Ethereum is 4. So probably Tron is 5th, if I'm not mistaken, and then it goes to 6, which would be Base. So Base is pushing the TVL up. Their hot app is Aerodrome, which is their biggest DEX, and they are listed on Robinhood, which is one of the biggest brokerages that are absolutely crushing it as of late. And that's not it. So the Base Solana bridge is now live on Aerodrome. This is huge news, very huge news. Starting now, any Solana token can deploy and trade on Aerodrome seamlessly. So I love bridging. I like interoperability within crypto. What I don't like about crypto, especially L2s, is when they create their own native token. So I love to see what Aerodrome is doing. I hate to see what the Base ecosystem is doing with their Base token. But anyways, I like interoperability. Solana, welcome to Base. This is awesome. This is how you invest into good networks, is you figure out who's doing what and where, and you invest before the when. So, all right, moving on. This is a big story on Kaspa. So why Kaspa? This is the project I compare everything to. So if this is your first time getting the Kaspa pitch, welcome. I believe, very bold claim here, Satoshi, if he recreated Bitcoin in 2025, is what Kaspa would be. Because it's solved the trilemma. What it hasn't done, that Bitcoin has done, is pushed out 30,000 nodes. I'll tell you that. So Bitcoin is the most decentralized network on the earth. Kaspa just pushed 1,000 nodes. Just crossed that milestone. Congrats, but that's, we still have a lot of progress to make there. But overall, there's a lot of progress that we are making. And I learned about this project in particular because I compare everything else in crypto to it. A Sui, a Solana, everything. Are you guys able to do the same fees? How fast are you? How's your scalability? How's your decentralization? How's your security? These types of things. All right. So in terms of Shai Wyborski, he's a very controversial figure in the Kaspa community. I have high respects for the dude, but he's saying the only other significant lifeline is VProgs, and that's in comparison to Igra Labs, which I'll cover next week in a video, another Kaspa video. And he's saying VProgs, which make programmability layers obsolete, but will crucially complement. And they are not exactly around the corner. So this possibly isn't a 2026 thing, is kind of how I read this. Like all tectonic paradigm shifts, we'll have to overcome notable technical hurdles for adoption. VProgs significantly innovate how smart contract infrastructure is designed, and it is only realistic to expect a long-term adaptation period. So VProgs, I quickly broke it down 2 weeks ago in a Kaspa video that almost has 5,000 views. And VProgs is the new era of smart contracts, essentially. So VProgs do require smart contracts, but it happens off-chain. All the computation happens off-chain, and it's put on-chain through zero-knowledge proofs. So it's very technical. Anyways, that's going to be hopefully coming maybe in 2026, maybe 2027, but IGRA Labs is going to happen before it, and that brings a programmability layer and a scaling layer. So he's saying IGRA is what Kaspa needs to enable the fund in order to fund its further development from the community so far down the emission schedule. This is the biggest argument that people have towards Kaspa. I understand this argument. Kaspa halves every year. So Bitcoin halves every 4 years. It's called a halving event. The emissions for Kaspa is very similar, but by 2036, 100% of all tokens will be in circulation. So if I have to buy a miner, and then I have to try to ROI it by mining Kaspa, selling the Kaspa, paying off the miner plus the electricity, you're going to have issues with emissions. So I'm not spreading FUD here, but stuff has to happen within this network for it to survive, right? So IGRA Labs is the next big mover. We have DAG Night that's going to happen hopefully by 2026, but you have to continue moving forward. So a team of veterans, some ex-DAG Labs, working to deliver the fastest, most secure EVM-compatible based rollup technology in the world, which is what we need. With great respect to the slow burn, it's about time to harness Kaspa's beastly power. So if you own some Kaspa, put K's in chat. We are here to dispel the FUD. This is the best layer 1 in all of crypto. Trust me, I've done my due diligence, deep dives on SUI, Solana, Bitcoin, XRP, every other one. First of all, you have a 4-year-old cryptocurrency that has broken the world record for most transactions in a single day. You have the first proof of work network to do thousands of transactions per second. So there's a ton of firsts. You've created DAG infrastructure called Ghost DAG. You're pruning stuff. You're adding pruning to your security. There's so many first things that happen within Kaspa that I have to give you the crown. People say I'm a little biased, but again, I do my due diligence and I always compare everything to Kaspa. So I'm always pay homage whenever there's big news out. And make sure you check out my video that drops next week. Hopefully we can hit 5,000 views on that one. All right, and then another video that's dropping probably late next week is going to be the hard truth of MicroStrategies. In case we're in a bear market, I want to get ahead of the FUD. Everyone's going to say Michael Saylor is going to get liquidated at 40K or 30K or 20K. Who knows? I'll try to do my best to know, and then I'm going to relay the information to you next week. Something that changed last bull market, which all that FUD happened last bear market, by the way. Everyone said, if it drops to 4K, Bitcoin's going to collapse. That FUD happened at 20K, and then at 15K, they said he was going to get liquidated all the way down to 4K, so they just kept pushing it. This is huge. This is going to be the biggest story going through a bear market is what is going on with MicroStrategies. Now, this bull market, they have all these different tickers and a whole different business strategy. They got, like leveraged tickers, 1.75x, MSTX, blah, 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 blah. So I need to wrap my head around all that to try to bring you guys the alpha. And then lastly, December top 5. This drops tomorrow. So I already gave you 2 plays, Ethereum, Tau, that are going to be in this video. But one video I never talked about before. I even had to chat GPT how to say the word to put in the video. There's going to be a gem in there. Every video I drop a gem. So I know you guys love those. And it's an hour after the start of this. Let's go ahead and read some final questions and then we will wrap this thing out. All right, we have some George fans. George is always bullish, says Tony. I'll tell you this. It's better to be a perma bull than a perma bear. So I know some perma bears that are always bearish. I'd rather be always bullish in terms of a growing asset class. So I don't know. I don't knock George for being forever bullish. Just remember this. Keep some of those perma bulls in your pocket. Listen to what they have to say. Find some of those perma bears. Listen to what they have to say, and then use both of those all that commentary that they're presenting. Because if it's factual and it makes sense, then add it to your bags and figure it out. So I try my best not to be either and stay as unbiased as possible. And that's why I tell you guys I'm 60-40. I'm just slightly more bearish than I am bullish. So, and again, I can do 100 bearish things, 100 bullish things. And no matter what, if I was right about these 100 things and a black swan event happens, it doesn't matter. So none of us truly know where we're headed in the near term. But I think in the longer term, we will be on to something as long as we accumulate. So that's what we're here to do. Sell the news, buy the rumors, says Daniel. All right, I saw an actual black swan in real life. It was a beautiful bird. That's interesting. That's pretty cool. I should have took a picture. I would try to capture, I'm not going to lie. Try to sell that thing, right? Buy some Satoshis. How'd you get your 3 Bitcoin, Crux? I mean, I caught a black swan. All right, Ken. What up, Crux? What up, Ken? What up, brother? All right. What's up, Crux? Is blazing. Appreciate you, my dude. Oh, yeah. Okay, I already read this. Sorry. Scrolled up a little too far on that one. I see a lot of Ks in chat, though. Carlton. We got RN. We got Daniel. Yeah, we got a lot of Ks in chat. And again, that's my favorite project in crypto. So when do you think Kaspa would get a major exchange? I'll talk about that next week. But I'll spoiler. HTX just got well, no, they didn't get a partnership. So AEF, which is the Kaspa Ecosystem Foundation, paid X amount, it has not been disclosed as far as I know, to HTX, which is the top 5 trading volume exchange in the world. So one of the biggest exchanges in the world will be listing Kaspa this month. Now, the date hasn't been completely certified, but they dropped a picture on Twitter that has all these like memes and stuff, and they said this month will be big. And in the very small corner, you see a little Kaspa emoji. So they hinted that it's going to be dropped this month, and that is HTX, which is a top 5 exchange in the world. Way bigger than Coinbase, by the way, and trader activity. All right, so it's not on Coinbase, and I don't see it on Blowfin, Uniswap. Robert, I could have sworn Kaspa was on Blowfin. Maybe it got delisted recently. Kraken would be probably your best bet. So Kraken is like a top 15 exchange in the world. Maybe. It's still a tier 1. Don't get it twisted. But we're about to get a newer tier 1. New to crypto this cycle. I have 2 coins down 50%. One degen, which is Graph, and one of the convictions, which is Sui. Is it a good play to sell the degen to DCA into the conviction coin? So first of all, GRT, that's like, I mean, that's a second cycle project, possibly even, yeah, possibly a third, if I'm not mistaken. Let's just say it's a 2017 baby. GRT was one of the first AI plays in all of crypto, but they've been far surpassed in terms of just technology itself. I see somebody shilling, somebody mind banning Margaret. All right, so it's been far surpassed in terms of technologies, GRT. And I would put that money into Tau. Again, not financial advice. And I'd just keep my Sui holdings. You want to diversify BP or PB, that is. And you don't need to hold all of it into like a Sui or a Bitcoin. It's okay. You can diversify into maybe 5 to 10 plays. And as long as they have like the top, let's just say the number 1 AI play is Tau. The number 1 real world asset play is an Ondo or maybe an AVAX. The number 1 deep in play could be a Render. The number 1. So try to get the number 1s of every niche and you should be fine. What you're not going to have the number 1 on, according to those holdings, is Graph. So Graph does nothing out of the ordinary, but it was a first mover, so that's pretty nice. All right, so JJ says, first time ever CFTC greenlight spot trading regulated U.S. exchanges. Is this good news? I did cover this earlier, JJ. Yes, it is. Why is it big news? Because 30% of all futures trading for gold happens through CFTC exchanges. So the other 70% happens like offshores, you know, through other exchanges and that type of stuff. But that's huge. 30%, that is a lot of possible liquidity that will be flowing through crypto. So imagine 30% more Bitcoin it starts trading because of, you know, this exposure. So I think it's pretty big news. All right, so MP Better Life says, yes, I made it home and you're still live. Look, sometimes I go longer than an hour. I, at a minimum, go an hour, and it really just depends on the concurrent viewers. So I would like to see a lot more concurrent viewers, but what can I say? I mean, it's my first year. I've only been live streaming for like 3 months. I think one day we'll have one of the biggest channels in crypto, and I know that's a huge, bold statement, but I'm super convicted. I'm knowledgeable, and every day I learn. So this is my first year. We're almost up to 5K subscribers. I'm pushing views, 5,000 views on some of my videos. and you guys have allowed me to reach new heights. So I appreciate this, and we are just getting started here. So always remember, you are in the top 5K of my subscribers. In one day, whenever we're 6-7 figures, it's gonna be something. Maybe, you know, right back here, I already have it. Look at that open space. I'm gonna have one of them YouTube plaques. It's gonna go well. Like the silver one, I think you get at 100,000 subscribers. I'm gonna put it right there. It's gonna look so beautiful. All right. We love you. We love your live going long. Yeah. So that's what Larry Fink said. These hedge funds are only going long. They're not shorting. If you're like a Michael Burry or whatever you want to say his name is, and you try to short AI and get absolutely schwacked your hedge fund, you ain't gonna survive. So, indeed, we will have one of the biggest. Hey, Angel, MP, and you improved a lot from your very first live. Yeah, thank you, MP. Thank you. All right. Bedrin says, so glad for you, Crux. Appreciate it, brother. And then MP Dallas, hope you guys will get together. Yeah, I still got to talk to T-Shroom, Tim. Maybe, just maybe, we have, I don't know, a get together or something. I know a lot of you guys are in Dallas. That is my hometown. I love Dallas. We need to start doing some get togethers eventually. So I'm kind of like the degen of the group. The other two, they're kind of like more formal, but it's okay. You know, it's okay. We are growing together, and each of our, like, wherever one person comes short, the other person is there to carry. So that's what we do here in this community. And I appreciate everybody for being here. I'll go ahead and drop those timestamps for you if you didn't catch the whole thing. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side. See ya Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then